Hey Christian, how are you?
Doing okay. Yeah.
Good. So last time we met, it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Anything exciting happen over the break?
Just Thanksgiving. Yeah. That's the only thing I could really remember. Yeah.
How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. Just
Good.
spent at home with my family.
Cool.
Yeah.
You have a big family,
I'd say medium size.
medium size. Cool. You guys have turkey and
Yeah.
all the good stuff.
All the good stuff.
Sweet, cool. So before we get started, I kind of just want to summarize over the notes that I took from
Sure.
trivia session, and just let me know if anything seems kind of off a little bit,
Right.
or if you would like to add anything.
Okay.
So yeah, let's get right into it. So, first I gathered just, we went through your history of sports and you played baseball for 4 years. That was the first sport you got into. And then you started track in 8th grade and you really enjoyed it. And then your freshman year in high school, you went to a small school and you transferred to Reardon, which was a bigger school. And then, you continued throughout high school and you went into college and, you said you felt as though you were intimidated by this new team at American University. And it was just, it was so serious. I think the coach said, he wanted you guys to do 14 miles, and you were just like, wow, this is huge.
Yeah.
And you just kind of got a little bit intimidated by the new environment, and you assumed that they were better. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
And so you decided to stop, or to stop your running career, and 5 years later, you find yourself now competing. Or you did compete for junior college, right? For 2 years.
For 2 years.
For 2 years, and then now, we're here.
Mm-hmm.
And so, some of the key kind of details I took, we talked last session. We kind of finished up by talking about self-talk and about how you probably can improve that, and how you had this battle going through your mind throughout kind of your career, and you would have a lot of confidence, and you would have these great performances. And then all of a sudden, you had these bad performances, and you described them as you usually felt, tired, and your lungs felt hollow, I think you said, and you would just start thinking negative, and it would just kind of spiral. And you had a couple instances. You said, I think it was your freshman year. Correct me if I'm wrong. You stopped in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
Okay. You stopped in the middle of the season. And you felt like you just had a lot of pressure, a lot of pressure on you. And we talked a little bit about your mom and how pressure might have come from her as well, throughout college. But it seems like you guys have improved that relationship.
Yeah, definitely.
And your pressure seems to come from other directions now.
Yeah.
And you had, you also had some big accomplishments. You ran 156. I think you said. In high school, you didn't break 2, right?
No.
Yeah, you didn't break 2. So you ran 156. That's a big, huge improvement to really, feed off of. And then you said a couple things that I mentioned that I thought were really, important. How you, usually when you had a bad race, you envisioned how hard you would have, or you were going to have to race to perform well. And then once you started envisioning this, it would really stress you out, and then that's when it would just completely kind of fall apart. You had a little hiccup with your coach, and what I got out of the first session is you would really want to work on kind of developing a more kind of positive mindset, a more that facilitates you kind of in the right direction, so that when you go, because you're going to have performances, not every performance is going to go well, but in order to kind of, envision yourself in a more positive way of pushing rather than, being kind of shy away from it. Yeah. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts I got from the first session. What do you think? Any kind of feedback in that regards? Anything I might have left out? Anything you would like to talk about in this session?
Well, I think we got probably like 3/4 of my running history down in the last session.
Okay.
I think there might be some stuff we could still, go over.
Cool.
That happened last year.
Cool. Okay. Well, let's do that. Let's dive right into that.
Okay. Cool.
Tell me about that missing part of that we didn't get into.
Yeah. I'd say I got back onto the team after I had that little scuffle with my coach.
Okay.
It was always my intention to keep running for those 2 years, but I just had a moment where I had to basically just keep stuff to take a break really from all the crazy stuff that was happening. So yeah, just got back in shape during the summer, ran, and I was ready to go for the cross country season. And this time my coach, he wasn't going to coach me this time. I guess that's something maybe the other coaches discussed with him.
Okay.
Possibly. So he kept his distance towards me. They probably thought that was the best thing. And that wasn't too stressful during that semester of training. Maybe it was the coaching. Maybe
you said it wasn't too stressful?
It wasn't too stressful.
Do you feel like not having him as a coach anymore relieved that stress, or?
I say partially, but I would say that the main thing was it wasn't my first time going back into track or going back into running anymore.
Okay.
That was all. I did that all last season,
So like the break kind of helped.
The break kind of helped, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, so I just felt a lot less stressed out. And I think my performances were a lot better.
Okay.
Yeah. And then in the spring semester for track, I finally broke 2.
Okay.
I don't know if we talked about that.
Yeah, we talked a little bit.
Oh, okay. And yeah, I was all with different coaching. But I think at that particular time I needed something a little bit different from the coaching style. Yeah.
Cool. And so after you broke 2, this was your sophomore year, right?
Mm-hmm. Last year.
And so this was last spring.
Yes.
Okay, last spring. So tell me a little bit about what happened after that, like your transition going now, if you're running now, and, you can just kind of go over the timeline.
Okay. Well, I was pretty excited for what I was thinking the possibilities would be for this season. And I was training a lot during the summer. And back in August or late July, started to feel some pain in my ankles.
Mm-hmm.
And I ran through it. I didn't think much of it. And I thought, this is like a little injury, it'll go away in a couple days. It didn't. It lasted for a long time. And got to the point where I had to stop running.
Okay.
The pain got really bad. And then I talked to some people about it, and they said, what you have is Achilles tendonitis. Mm-hmm. And from what I've learned about it, that's a really serious injury. That if you don't take it seriously, if you don't heal properly, you may not be able to run as well as you could have. Okay. So that was kind of just like that was something that I was like, oh man, I think things are going, rebounding and, what I want to do and running and everything. And then here this comes, it knocks you down a little bit in a way. And so yeah, I haven't been able to run consistently since then it's been like 4 months now. And yeah, it's just something that I'm kind of.
So it's been 4 months since
about 4 months since I've been able to run consistently.
And what have you kind of done meanwhile to kind of cope with this? Like, have you been doing any sort of cross training? What do you do with your time now that you're not running?
I mainly, if I'm not running, I'm trying to stretch and to do some exercises that can alleviate my ankles. Some rolling exercises like a foam roller.
Okay.
Just massaging my ankles and parts of my legs.
Okay. And you said you feel pretty frustrated about this.
Yeah, frustrated.
And would you say, how do you feel now compared to 4 months ago when you first got the injury? Can you kind of explain the process that you've kind of went through with this injury, feeling wise, emotion wise?
The first time I heard it that I had Achilles tendonitis, I was like, well, it can't be that serious, I never had a serious injury before.
Yeah.
So I was like, whatever, let me run through this, it'll be okay. And I wasn't getting better. So I was like, wow. It humbled me in a way through that process. I was like, okay, so whatever I want to do, what I think I could do, sometimes it won't match with, the reality of a situation. And I think from September, I want to say all of August and September, I was just really down on myself in terms of that. I had a lot of goals I was preparing myself for the season. And then, when you realize you won't be able to reach those goals, that was, really frustrating. But then little by little, I was just like, well, if it's not going to be this year, there's the other years.
Mm-hmm.
There's other chances. And it's good, I think, for me to have a reason to improve more. That's more motivation, I think. So I try to look at the bright side of this in the end.
That's great. It sounds like you have accepted it.
Yeah.
At first, it might have been rough for you, but it definitely seems like you have an open mind about it.
Exactly.
But you still are, of course, you're going to have those feelings of frustration, and at time you might feel depressed about it, and those feelings are, natural.
Yeah.
They're natural feelings; they're always going to come. But it seems like you have a really good open mind about it, and I think really the key to this injury and getting through to it is having a plan. And it seems like you have, you do some stretches and you do some exercises. Mm-hmm. Would you say you have a kind of a consistent plan and maybe goals through getting through this kind of rehabilitation kind of process? And you can be completely honest
I was about to say,
this.
if I were to say yes to that, I would be kind of lying to you.
Okay.
I guess naturally I'm not the type of person that would be automatically motivated to do something. I'm just naturally more of a lazier person than anything else. So there's been moments where I'm just like, okay, let me just not do anything. The pain will go away by itself. But from what I've heard from people, from what I've read online, it doesn't work like that for these injuries. You have to, it's a daily process of stretching out.
You gotta be proactive.
You gotta be proactive with it. That's something, being proactive is something I struggle with a lot. Okay. Yeah.
Cool. So do you think then making a plan would help you?
I think so. Yeah, definitely.
And do you know what you need to do because, I'm not an expert of Achilles tendonitis. I definitely have heard of it and know some things. But do you know, what to do, what things kind of help to support Achilles tendonitis? You said you've talked to some people about it. Do you know what you would need to do in order to at least support the process? Because, there's not going to be that miracle cure.
Right, yeah.
But for sure, there's things you can do that will strengthen it over time, and then hopefully, you'll be able to run.
I think
again.
Yeah, pretty much. I think I know the gist of what to do at this point now.
Okay. And what do you think will kind of help you in getting this plan rolling? Like, what is it that you need to do? Do you need to, stretch a certain amount of times every day? Do you need ice every day? Is there, things you need to do every day that would help you?
Definitely need to stretch and massage it every day.
Okay.
I'd say it'd be best to ice it every time after I run.
Okay.
And I'm trying to run at least every other day right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And so you run every other day? That's something that you've been consistent with?
I wouldn't say consistent, but it's something that I'm striving for.
You're striving for?
Yeah.
Do you feel the pain when you run, or?
Not really. It feels funny, but maybe that's just because I haven't ran for a while.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Yeah, and the thing with injuries too is they have, when you get back at it, it takes a while to build that muscle back up, and but I think a plan would definitely work for you and definitely help you, kind of guide you throughout the process. Right. And so we can, think of a plan real quick, to help you with that, and then after we come up with this plan, we can go into the negative self-talk and work on self-talk. Okay. So where I think we should start is, first I think we should look at your routine, your kind of daily routine, and, what you do and how building kind of a plan within this, your daily routine. So how adding like, say you want to ice or say you want to stretch and then do your run, how we can kind of like add that in that routine and kind of make it like a daily routine. And it's, one thing to remember too is it's going to be hard. You might not get it down the first couple of times and there might be some inconsistencies, but it's all about just, attacking it with a positive mindset and just, believing in it and then just sticking to it and just trying to try it out, and eventually it'll become habitual and you'll be able to,
Okay.
build a habit over it. So how does your week look like in regards of your schedule? Is it pretty busy? What times do you think would work? We can brainstorm some ideas. I can jot down some ideas for you.
Yeah.
That works best for you, like when you're free.
Right. Since we're like December 5th or 6th right now, and I'm taking mostly online classes, so I have a lot of time free. And since winter break's coming, I'm gonna have a lot of time free for like a month. So that's a good time to do all this stuff. Let's see. I try to wake up around 9, but I don't have anything necessarily to do, like, in the morning. So that would be a good time to do all those things.
And I heard too with Achilles tendonitis that when you wake up in the morning, sometimes it feels pretty sore.
Yeah.
Feels sore.
Yeah.
So maybe that would be a good time to do some of your therapy. It's sore to loosen it up. So you wake up usually around 9. Is it like a set time you wake up, or you just kind of let your body wake yourself up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe we can make that, and a good idea that I usually kind of suggest sometimes is have an alarm for it.
Yeah.
So when you wake up with your alarm, you know how you can write something. You have an iPhone?
Yeah.
Yes. So you can like set an alarm and then you can write. Because sometimes I'll write to myself, "Wake up, you softy," or something like that. Something that'll motivate me. But for yourself, you can say, "All right, let's rehab," and then you can just say have a list like ice, for 10 minutes or whatever.
Oh, that's a good idea.
What do you think about that? Is there any other kind of maybe things you could come up with that you think would help you off the bat?
I definitely like that like note type of thing.
Okay.
That's a great thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, and everything is adjustable, right? Everything, if it doesn't work out, you can always figure out a new plan. So, cool. So, how about, what are things that would help you at 9 a.m. to do? Like right when you wake up in the morning? Like what are things that you think will benefit you most?
In terms of my injury?
Yeah, into rehabbing. So like would stretching be best and then icing or,
Stretching.
Okay.
Would be best. Stretching, massaging.
And you have a list of things that you do for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not like a concrete list, but like things that I know in my head that I should be doing.
Okay, cool. Are you more of a, do you like to see things on paper type of person, or do you just like having it in your head and going with the flow? What would you say?
I think what's best for me is having it on paper.
On paper, okay, cool. So we could make a list of this too, and when you wake up, you can have it like on your wall. And so every time when you wake up, you will see it like on your wall, I guess, or wherever you mostly look in the morning, or you feel like you would be reminded. So you stretch and then you roll and then you would ice. Is that what you said?
Ice after I run.
After you run? Okay, cool. So it would just be mostly like stretching and rolling, massaging.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And then how about for anything else throughout the day? What else would you do? You would think would help benefit you?
In terms of that, I just think the main thing would be that stuff in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then the running, I usually try to do it at night.
Okay.
That's when I like to run. And I'm doing like 30 minutes of running every other day.
30 minutes every other day?
Yeah. And then the icing after that.
The icing after, okay. And then I guess you can have, before you go on your run, maybe you can set another alarm or something.
Another one, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. To remind you when you get back. Because you know how you get back from a run and you just kind of want to lounge around. Did you ever get that sometimes? You just don't feel like doing anything. Yeah. I can relate. But yeah, so I mean that would definitely be good, and I think a good way to do would just be to start by writing it down on paper. And I could type this out for you and send it to you.
Oh, perfect.
If you want, I can email it to you. Yeah, and you can even just print that out and put it on your wall, or you can write it if you want yourself. But just kind of a reminder so that what it is you wanted to do. So yeah, and just a little bit more. I think going into the once we go into the positive self-talk and reframing thoughts and whatnot, it's another skill that will be not just for your races, but for what you're going through right now. Because it seems like before you get to where you can compete again, you got to get through this, right? You got to get healthy again.
Exactly.
And so, you're going to get to a time where, like we talked about, these negative thoughts are going to come and you're just going to be like, you might go out on a run, you might feel it, and then you're just going to be like, man, when is this going to go away? And these negative thoughts are going to start coming again. And so reframing those thoughts, turning them into positive thoughts, so that you continue to push forward and you continue to stick to the plan rather than breaking away. And so those will definitely help for sure. So what I have now is I have a couple of handouts that I think will is a good way to discuss self-talk. And so the first one that I would like to go through is, to kind of discuss your beliefs and your expectations. Here's this handout right here. And then you can use this pen. And as we're going through this, we're going to talk about it. I like, I would like for sure, my athletes to write down on paper because, it helps kind of the thoughts kind of sink in, and then you can always have this paper to kind of go back to, and to kind of go over, what it is that you're thinking and how you feel. And then it's interesting too to go over later and be like, wow, like I've come a long way. Right. This is what I used to think, this is what I used to feel, and I've implemented these new strategies, and wow, this is amazing. So it's kind of cool to kind of follow the process,
right.
To kind of just take that process in. It's one of the most important things to just, embrace the process. That's like the beautiful thing about it. Yeah. So yeah, I'll read over quickly the description of this handout. We all look at the world differently. Multiple people could experience the exact same situation, yet still have very different explanations on what occurred. Our beliefs are the things that we trust in, have faith in, and are confident in. They influence how we interpret our experiences. And so, it's kind of like what we've been talking about, how, your certain experiences, how you perceive them is kind of, what you believe in, know. And so, so the first question right here, you can just jot down some, briefly, some ideas. Okay. List any successes that you see yourself achieving in your sport.
Okay.
So you just take some time to do that.
Sure. That I see myself in the future possibly having.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. And then let's go to the second question, and then we'll discuss these first two questions. Okay. What are these successes, beliefs based on? Why do you think you will achieve these things?
Okay.
Cool. So, if you wouldn't mind sharing for me, the first question, what are your kind of your successes that you see yourself achieving?
Okay. Well, the first one, I think the obvious one, recovering from injury.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one. And then improving my personal best 800 time.
Okay.
And then improving a lot from that time, too.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. And so, what would you say that these successes, and you can go down the line if you want, are based on? So why do you think that you will, and why do you think you'll achieve these things?
I said having a positive mindset on all these things, and writing out goals, writing them out clearly for me to focus on.
Cool. And so what do you think? Where do you think these these achievements or these successes that you want, that you kind of desire, where do you think they come from? So where do you think why is it that you want to improve your PR? Why is it that you what kind of where do these feelings that you have kind of stem from? You know what I'm trying to ask?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say to just prove things towards myself, to I guess to prove that, I'm capable of doing this, and maybe prior to that, I didn't think that I was able to do those things.
Okay. Yeah. So just kind of proving to yourself that you can achieve these things. Cool. So next question, we'll go into what are your biggest fears, and then right after that one, you can jot down what are these beliefs or what are these fears based on, and how do they make you feel? Okay.
Right.
So, what are your biggest fears?
Disappointing myself and disappointing others.
Okay.
Especially people that they've kept notice on my progression in running, and then they see that I just mess up in the end. Like I wasn't able to accomplish my goals.
And who are these people? Are they anybody or
friends? Maybe some family members, and to myself too, especially.
Yeah. And so, what do you think these fears are kind of based on? Where do you think they came from? Why is it? Do you feel as though you're really fearful of letting others down? Where do you think this may have come from?
Probably low self-esteem, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe if I don't accomplish certain things, people won't look at me in a positive light.
Mm-hmm. And where you say low self-esteem, how do you feel you have low self-esteem? Can you maybe give me some examples of some thoughts or some things that you think?
I don't know. I think I've had it for as long as I can remember. So I don't know. Maybe if it's nature or nurture.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a combination of the things. Maybe the way I was raised, perhaps, has a lot to do with it. I can't really give you a specific explanation, but yeah.
And you said you had it for a long time.
Oh yeah, as far as I can remember.
Yeah. And you had it throughout high school. You think it played a big factor into you not joining your college team?
Yeah,
and
of course.
And feeling okay.
Yeah, most definitely.
And then great. So you said you feel these fears from letting people down, and then letting yourself down. What are some ways you think you could definitely kind of move forward with these? Is this something that you battle with, and you just feel as though you don't know what to do? You feel lost in these feelings.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yeah. So we kind of went over some of your beliefs now, and kind of how you feel about your sport, and what your biggest fears and what some of your biggest successes are. And now we're going to go into these expectations. And so the expectations now, are what you think will happen in a certain situation, and often grow as a result of both internal sources, so what you expect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then external sources, perception of others, and that's kind of what we've been talking about. And so expectations have the ability to create anxiety and stress. And so it seems like you're getting a lot of this stress, right, and this anxiety, because you have very high expectations, not only for yourself, but for others. Mm-hmm. So what would you say are, and let's just talk about this. What are your current expectations for sport?
I expect myself to, in the near future, to be healthy enough to run. Mm-hmm. That's my first expectation. And then I expect sometime in the future that I'll be able to improve.
Okay.
Yeah, to improve my times.
And then how about expectations from others? What do you think? How do you feel other people's expectations are? What do you think their expectations are for you? And remember, this is what you feel,
right?
Because you'll never know. I mean, It's hard unless they tell you. Yeah. It's really hard to know someone's expectations. But so this is all how you feel, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I would say what I feel is that they, mostly family members more, that they expect me to do well.
Okay.
To do well, whatever I do, do it good. That's what they expect.
Have they ever? Has there ever been a situation where you haven't done well, and they've said something like, "What's kind of made you to believe that you need to do good, and they'll be disappointed if you don't"?
Just little comments that I've heard, several times in my life. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's led me to believe that. And if there's been any moment that I have not met their expectations, during college and whatnot, of course. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And so are these expectations that you have, are they realistic, and are they in your control? What do you think?
I'd say recovering from injury, I'd say that's like 90% realistic and under my control. Mm-hmm. As long as I put in the work, and that's what we were talking about, writing stuff down, the stuff I have to do during the morning. Okay. I think it's definitely something that's possible for me to accomplish on my own. Mm-hmm. And in terms of running faster times, in due time, I think it's definitely realistic.
Okay. And then how about your expectations of letting people down and yourself down? Do you think that's letting people down or is in your control?
I'd probably say, to be honest, it's like 50-50.
Yeah.
I can't say it's not under my control, what they think
Mm-hmm.
of whatever I do.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So yeah.
Exactly. I mean, you said it perfect. I mean, it's not under your control. Just like when you're out there racing and you're performing, whatever your opponent does, totally out of your control. But whatever you do is 100% in your control, right? You can control it. And so that's kind of where the positive self-talk and kind of reframing these ideas and stopping these negative thoughts come into play, because they make you more in control of what you're doing, if that makes sense. Yeah. And so a couple ways, I'm going to get right into it, some techniques in which you can, and you can actually, if you would like, jot some notes down for yourself, because I know this is quick, and this is our last session together. There you go. Or how about this? Right on the back of this. Okay. I don't know why I did that. So there's two types, and it comes down to what, or there's more than two types, but it comes down to what you prefer. And the kind of two techniques that I would like to go over is reframing is one, and then thought stopping is one. And they're pretty simple. And I'm sure there's plenty of times where you might have done this and you were just kind of unaware of it, Okay. And that's the whole thing about this, is just making you kind of aware of these kind of techniques. And so when you're in these situations, you know what to do. And I remember from session 1, 2, you told me that, when you have a good race, you don't remember anything, right? You don't remember thinking, right? And that's why you had a good race, because you didn't have no negative thoughts. But it isn't bad to think, like during races. Like, there's going to be those probably very few races or very few performances when you have a blank mind, those kind of peak performances. And that you're going to be thinking negative. And it's not bad, because there are ways to, overcome it. And so, for example, reframing, or let's start with thought stopping. It's simply what it sounds like. You're stopping a negative thought. So, say I'm playing basketball and I'm shooting a free throw, and, before I shoot, I'm thinking to myself, man, you suck. You're 1 for 4 today. There's no way you're making this. Mm-hmm. And then, I can stop that with either a visual kind of cue, a physical cue, or a verbal cue. And what I mean by that is, for example, a verbal cue would be a word that works for you. So when you think of a negative event, kind of think of a word that works, that would get you to kind of throw that thought away, that negative thought away. So, for example, for me, it could be 2014. And this is just random, I'm throwing out there. Because to me, what 2014 means, when I shot 90% that season at the free throw line. So quickly I say 2014, and that brings a positive kind of vibe and positive thoughts, and gets my mind off the negative and puts me back into the moment, So maybe, and then visual would be, say I visualize a cheetah or something when I'm out there racing. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm getting tired. I visualize a cheetah, and I visualize him as being strong and going. And then a physical cue would be just focusing on your technique. So say you're breaking down at the end of your 800, you would loosen up and be like, kind of analyze your form and be like, oh, wow, my arms are starting to, go crazy. Like, that's not how you're supposed to run. Relax the shoulders, keep your elbows tight, whatever you would do that would help you. So kind of going through those brief kind of examples, do you think a verbal cue, a physical cue, or a visual cue would work best for you? Like, what do you think would, are you more of a person that, likes to analyze kind of your technique, or do you like to, do words help, or, maybe words aren't enough and you need to visualize something? It can be a combination too. You could see a picture and say a word to yourself.
I'd say that combination, yeah.
Okay.
The visualization and like the phrase.
The visualization and the phrase.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe think of a time right now where you were having a tough race.
Okay.
One of your 800 races, and kind of explain that situation to me, and then when do you think you could use it during that race, and at what word and what would you see?
Like during the actual race?
Yeah.
As the race is already going on?
Yeah, as the race is going on.
Okay. Let's say after the first lap, I'm somewhere, in the middle of the pack. I'm like, like another lap to go. I don't know how I'm going to do this next one. I might get tired. Yeah, so you want me to think like how I would use those visualizations?
Yeah, exactly.
I guess.
Or kind of describe to me when you get tired. What do you feel? Like, what do you feel, and what do you look like, and maybe what you're thinking, kind of briefly.
When I get tired, I guess I start losing focus on my form. Letting people pass me.
Okay.
Not trying to kick it in.
Okay.
The last couple meters, or just kind of giving up, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what kind of word, and you can even brainstorm some words and some visuals as well. What kind of words and visuals that come to mind when you think of, this kind of pain that you're experiencing and this negative thoughts that you're experiencing?
I guess a visual would be me sprinting towards the finish line.
Okay.
Like the last 150 and just kicking it in.
And looking strong.
Looking strong, passing people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how about a word that could supplement that?
I guess since my PR is 156, maybe like 156.
Oh, cool.
Just thinking like, that time was a great race.
Yeah. Great. So how about you jot these down? Jot down the image that you would think of, and then jot down and then jot down what you would say. Okay. Just so that you have this.
Right.
Okay, cool. And so one more thing too that you could do when these negative thoughts come up is reframe them. And I'll go over after too when you can use these different techniques. So reframing is it's basically reframing the thought. So for example, I'll give you say I am on the starting line and I look at my opponent, and maybe you could relate to this, and you get intimidated. And I'm starting to feel intimidated, my legs are getting tired, and then I start thinking like, man, I don't belong here, right? Reframing would just be reframing the whole situation. So, that's what I said. I said I don't belong here. And then so my reframing thought would be, you do belong here. Last year you were here and you won the race and you ran a great time. So you belong here. And so that would be, a reframing. Just kind of reframing the situation, and it can be based off a past experience that you accomplished. It could, it can just be as simply no, you belong here, you're ready, you're fit. So it's just kind of reframing the situation, looking at it from a brighter side. So maybe you can give me now an example. Maybe prior to the race, you say that some of these feelings come up prior to the race. Right. And then maybe reframe that thought.
Okay. So yeah, I'm warming up. I'm seeing all my opponents. I'm like, okay, these guys all look better than me. They're definitely gonna run faster than I will.
Okay.
So reframing, I guess, would be, but they probably worked as much as I have. They've done, similar workouts as I have. So I belong here.
Yeah.
And there's no reason why I should, or there's no reason why I would embarrass myself in a race where I'm just as likely to win the race as anybody else.
Okay. So basically just comparing yourself and being like, I've done whatever they've done, I've done.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And, one thing to kind of some advice when you're doing these thoughts is it's definitely good to reframe them in a way in which it's kind of you're in control rather than being like, oh, they've done what I've done. Instead of saying that, be like, I've done, I've put in the work.
Okay. Right.
I've done. They couldn't have done anything that I've already done. Just kind of signifying that you're kind of in control. And no one's in control over your thoughts but you. And so yeah. Do you feel like you could see yourself using these? And beyond, it's hard because at first, and I'll tell you right now, you can't expect to go out there and just experience a negative thought and then just be like, oh, cheetah 156, and then it's gonna work. It's a process, just like recovery process from injury, a process of improving your 800-meter time. It's gonna take time. It's gonna take practice. And so I definitely recommend starting this with little things. And you can use the beauty of this reframing and stuff is you will get better at it over time, and you'll notice big improvements, and it'll become more real to you. But the beauty of it is you can start simple, like you can use it on anything. Say you're taking a test for one of your classes, and you're starting to think like, oh my God, I'm gonna fail this,
Right.
And you can reframe that thought and be like, wait, no, I studied. I prepared for this. I'm not going to fail this. So this is something that you can use for anything. And I think what you should do is start small,
Okay.
and start in less stressful situations. So maybe just a negative thought that comes out throughout the day, say you're walking down the street and I don't know, just some random negative thought comes and just reframing it, just in a less stressful situation. And then as you get more comfortable with the skills, build it up, and also, I think you can use it with your injury. I think it'll be quite beneficial because, like we were talking, injuries all about perception, and you've done a really good job of accepting this injury. It seems like you've gotten past that phase, but we've discussed how it's common to fall back into that sadness, that kind of grieving state.
Yeah.
And so these thoughts will help you overcome that over time for sure. It's just about, believing in that process, and it's tough, and it's not going to be easy, but I think if you practice these, for sure it will help you for sure.
Okay. So can you tell me for just 1 second, so the first phrasing, visualization, what was it called? You said it was
reframing?
Yeah, reframing.
Oh, this one's thought stopping.
Okay, yeah.
This one's thought stopping.
And the other one's reframing.
And the other one's reframing. And you'll notice too that a lot of these work hand in hand.
Yeah.
Right. It really comes down to what comes natural for you. And for me, over time, it's been a mix. I see myself using reframing a lot more because, I find myself, what works for me is just kind of talking to myself in sentences. Sometimes, there are points where, visualizing stuff helps me, gets me, fired up. But mostly, if the negative thoughts get really deep, I'll find myself, having to reframe them and restructure. And I think that's what you'll figure that out, like what works for what. So yeah, our session, is sadly wrapping up. But before we close out, I want to take the time to answer any questions that you have, maybe about this or anything moving forward that you kind of feel like you're empty that you might need before we move on. So feel free if you have any questions to shoot away for sure.
I guess in terms of my recovery from the injury in the morning when I'm doing all those stretches and whatnot, this could be applicable too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. So, say you get up in the morning, you have your alarm goes off, and you see the thing, and you're just like, I don't want to do this. Like, I'm tired, I'm lazy. And then you can reframe it like, but you made a commitment to this, and, this is what's going to get you better. And then, bam, you go into it. Okay. And like I said, it's going to take time. It's going to take practice. And you might fight against this at first. But I think, you know, when you start to see the results and you start to see that it's working, for sure, you know, you'll build a habit with it.
Okay, so it's a gradual thing where if you keep doing it, it'll be habitual. That it'll definitely help in the long run. Okay, cool.
Anything else?
No, I think you've covered a lot. I think I've been able to grasp everything you've said.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. One more thing I want to give you before we head out is, I think this will help too, is a self-talk log. And I'm going to email this to you. I'll give you this, though, just to kind of have as an example. I'm going to email this to you just so that you have in the future. And basically, you know, you can use this at first, you know, and you can use this if you want, if you really find it helpful, but just writing down your thoughts throughout the day. Right. And, you know, since we don't have more time to work with each other, what I would usually do is I would have you do this, and then, you know, you'd bring it back and we could talk about it.
Okay.
But, you know, you would definitely write down the trigger first, right? So what triggered your negative thought? So, for example, waking up early in the morning and then you thought of this, like, I don't want to do this. And then what would the trigger be? Maybe your trigger would be just the feeling of laziness. You know, you don't want to do these stretches and stuff. You'd rather go do something else.
Right.
And then when you woke up, thought, you would write exactly that thought that you had. So, you know, your thought was, I don't want to do this, there's better things I could be doing. And then your feelings, what did you feel when you said this? And then another example, you know, say during the race, or before your race, you know, your thought is, you know, oh my God, look at all these guys around me, they look so fast. And then your feelings is your heart rate goes up and you feel weak, you know. And then your behavior would be the result, what happened. So basically what happened in the race. Were you able to overcome these? And if you did overcome these, you know, what did you do? If you didn't, then you would just write the result down there. And then it's kind of cool because you can kind of go over these and examine them, you know, throughout the weeks and see if you're improving and seeing what you're doing to improve.
Right. And,
you know, it's just kind of a self-reflection. So, yeah. So I'll leave you with that. And then if you ever have any questions, too, you can email me, too, about that, for sure. Awesome. Okay. Great. It was really great meeting you, Christian.
Yeah.
And thanks for working with me. You know, it was really awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah. So have I wish the best of luck for your running endeavors, and I hope you recover.
Thanks.
Cool. Turn stuff.